Community Matters.
Hello and welcome to Many Voices, One Community, stories that unite us across Long Island and beyond. I'm Gaitley Stevenson-Mathews. I'm so very honored to be your host. And let me tell you, it is a special treat today because I have Dr. Florio, of course, with me. And Dr. Florio, I was so thrilled to be at Molloy University. I know it was the Dean's Fund reception. Yep. And when I was there, you did a presentation talking about the gifts and what comes with a good liberal arts education, how it's not something we need to abandon. If anything, in this day and age, it's something we need to build even more, and the beautiful and exciting things that are happening at Molloy University. And I will tell you, as you know, we had Dr. Lentini on a few weeks back. You all are going like gangbusters. And I will tell you, not only for Long Island, but what that does for our nation and as far as sending really incredible students out there. So I want you to share a little bit about that. But before we hop in, if you don't mind, this is what I always love because I find that our listeners enjoy kind of the story behind the person. So, if you know, becoming Dr. Florio, being the Dean of Science and Liberal, what is your actual title?
Dean of the School of Arts and Sciences.
Dean of the School of Arts and Sciences, becoming who you are today. Where did that begin?
Yeah. So how far back should I go?
Where did you grow up, and tell us a little bit about yourself?
So I grew up in Middle Village, Queens. I am the daughter of a teacher and a physician. My parents separated when I was quite young, but I grew up mainly with my mom and my brother, but have a wonderful extended blended family now. So that's been a real blessing. Growing up in Middle Village, Queens, I went to Catholic school from kindergarten through 12th grade. Went to school in Manhattan for high school, and then left the city to go to Vassar College in Poughkeepsie, New York, where I discovered that while my grades may not have suggested it at the time, I had a special talent for laboratory-based chemistry. So I spent a couple of years trying to figure it out, it all out.
As it goes in undergrad, that's where you do that, right?
Yeah, and was really fortunate to be in a liberal arts setting that allowed for that exploration, to get the broad-based education across the humanities and social sciences and the sciences, but then to really focus in on the things that I realized I was both good at and passionate about. So I had a tremendous mentor, Stuart Belly, who's just recently retired from Vassar, and he spent a lot of time with me. I did research with him. I was kind of a little lost for a while, and I was sort of wandering around campus trying to figure out who I should be, where I should go. And the faculty there really made a significant impression on me. And someone happened to send me over to Stuart, and he said, hey, I have an opening in my lab. Want to come and work with me? We were looking at copper speciation in seawater. We had the opportunity to go to San Diego, California, to spend a summer. It was the first time I had been really out of New York and not at Disney or something like that.
Right. With real purpose, right?
Yeah,
sure.
And so just realized that I had a passion for and was good at this hands-on science. And, for the entire summer, basically every single day, Stuart said to me, tell me again why you're not a chemistry major. I don't understand. You're so good at this. And then finally I stopped him one day and I said, could you please stop this? Because the reason why I'm not a chemistry major is because I didn't do well in that class in freshman year. And he said, that's ridiculous, right? So took me back.
Now that's a good teacher. That is a good teacher right there. Yes.
Took me back when we got back to campus, helped me figure out a plan that would allow me to graduate within 4 years with a chemistry major. And that just changed the trajectory of my life. And so, I really see what I'm doing as kind of coming full circle, having had the opportunity to be in higher ed now for, I guess it's 20 years, and working, initially as a faculty person in chemistry with undergraduate and graduate students, and now as a dean. Really, I believe in the transformative power of higher education and hands-on learning, and I want to make sure all of our students have that.
And I will say, I think about, as I hear you tell the narrative, I've got now a good friend of mine who was a professor of mine in grad school, and we still write, we're still friends, but the professors and the people who inspired you. Mm-hmm. And how incredibly important that is. I often think of nurses and educators. To me, they are the pillars of, if you're lucky enough at the right time to hit the right one, it can make such a difference in your life. And to be inspired by somebody else who is just excited makes all the difference in the world. Yeah. So this is the thing for me. So my background is theater and the arts, and oh my gosh, I'd have never made it through algebra, trigonometry, were it not for a professor that I knocked on that. So the sciences feel, big and giant and a little daunting. And I think oftentimes people think of scientists as people in the lab coat and all of those things. So how does the scientist in you become not only an educator, but a dean and an administrator? So that creative process, share with us a little bit about that.
Yeah,
How did that happen?
Okay, so let me first say, I think the connection across sort of our backgrounds is maybe a smaller leap than people might think. I think science is very creative, and some of the biggest discoveries really came from someone thinking very differently, right?
And not giving up.
Yes, and very creatively about the world around them, and really trying to integrate across, many different areas, right? Applying knowledge and information in different ways, right? So I do think it's human. It's a human, creative process, just like art is. It's telling a different story. It's maybe for a different purpose, but it has that creative element. Right. I see it anyway.
Right, and I would say on the flip side of the coin, the arts is a science. To really do the arts well, you have to peel back the onion of human nature,
right?
And how one thing is connected to the other, and how one thing reveals something else. So that to me is science, is it not?
Yeah. So we have a lot in common to start with.
Yes.
And then I think that as an educator, I think one of the things that one of my strengths, if I can,
yes, of course,
is having an ability to communicate kind of at different levels, right? And so when you're working with an undergraduate student who may be the first class they're taking in college is this chemistry class. Chemistry, everybody knows, is really hard, right? Or thinks is really hard. And so being able to kind of break something down that is complicated and nuanced, and sort of put it together, let's say atom by atom, right? Or molecule by molecule, and build up a bigger picture. So there is a storytelling element, right, to the profession of instructor, educator. I'm guessing that's true at all levels, although I've only taught in universities. But so having the ability to kind of communicate across different groups of students or people, I think is something that I would say I learned through my liberal arts education, and also my high school years were formative in that way too. And so I think, and that was at a Jesuit high school in Manhattan, Loyola School. So having that broad-based liberal arts education that focused me on, making sure that I was holistically educated has allowed me to, I hope,
Right.
be able to understand, to be a lifelong learner, to be able to say, like, okay, I can understand the needs of my students and their faculty in the sciences, but also in our art programs, in our theater program, and, kind of across the full range of programs we support at Molloy. So,
Right. Well, and I will say the thing that is always revealing to me is when you see someone who's, for lack of a better way to express this, has come up through the ranks as far as just your experience, maybe not feeling so certain about things on the front end of things, and then moving into what really has to be your stride right now. I just feel like, when I saw you presenting and in talking to the students and the other faculty, you are at a place like that professor who made an impact on you. You are at that place now. And to me, that is legacy. That is paying it forward. That is taking the gift of curiosity and passing it on. Because the things that you had as a young person and we had as a young person, I'm a little older than you, but that we had, things have been discovered. Things are new. Everything is shifting so quickly.
Yeah.
But knowing how to approach things methodically, how to break them apart, how to put them back together, that kind of learning, again, in liberal arts, in the arts and science, which I love the fact that you have those together because, as you have explained, they go together. They are both creative arts. That being able to think in that way makes all the difference, not only if you pursue directly your major, or if you go a completely different direction, or it inspires you to another place. That kind of reasoning makes such a difference. As you know, I went to Berea College, which was a small liberal arts school, very different than Vassar, but on some ways, that same grassroots importance of liberal arts and how that impacts us and empowers us in moving through the world. And then went to a very large university, for my master's. So, and certainly you have had a broad spectrum of experiences at the universities, and getting your PhD and your postgraduate work, all of those things. How would you say your experience is now informing you at Molloy?
Yeah.
And what is your hope for the future as you move it forward?
Yeah, so you make reference to a range of institutions. So I have sort of had the small liberal arts education at Vassar, moved to directly out of undergrad into a graduate program, into the doctoral program in chemistry at Purdue University. So Big Ten, Midwestern, huge engineering school, huge chemistry department, right? Service department to all these engineers and health sciences. And then from Purdue to Columbia University, where I was a postdoctoral research fellow in a number of different areas there. And then I spent the bulk of my career as a member of the faculty, and then later in part-time and then full-time administrative work at St. John's University in Queens, New York.
For a long time.
17
years. I know it's close to 20. I was
right.
looking that up. Yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, 20
years.
Yes. I was first hired in September of 2005 as a assistant professor. So 20 years total in higher ed as a faculty and administrator. But I think I've always been deeply committed to students and engaging those students and finding what it is for them, like, paying it forward, like you said, but sharing my passion for science, for learning, really getting to know students. That's such a gift, right? It is an extraordinary gift to be in contact with young people all the time, right? So you are constantly feeling the amazing opportunity, right, that we have as in our society through as presented to you by these young people that are in our classrooms, brand new, shiny students at the beginning of every year. They all stayed roughly the same age. I got older every year, but my perspective changed, right? Initially,
Sure.
I was probably closer in age to the student than I was to their parents, but then by the end, or now I'm,
the other end.
The other end.
Right. Well,
However,
part way there. You got a long way to go.
I do,
Yes.
but I've in every formulation of my work, really, it's that individual connection that I'm able to make with students, that I'm able to make between students and the content material, no matter what course I'm teaching. But now, as an administrator, so I had a time at St. John's when I was doing part-time administrative work at a pretty high level, but still in the classroom. And at that point, I realized the value of the administrative work in my role as a faculty person. It gave me a very different perspective in the classroom and then outside the classroom. So I was able to see that I could help support the learning and the success of many more people, faculty, students, staff, administrators, stepping into an administrative role in a either part-time or full-time
Right. So
setting.
you know what the teachers need, what the professors need, what the educators need to do their job.
And
right?
if I don't know, I know how to ask. So
Right,
that's another
right,
thing, is about
right.
being humble in a leadership role, making sure that I'm meeting the needs of the people in front of me and not some hypothetical that I think it should be. And that's been so moving from St. John's. I was my last 2 years at St. John's. I was interim dean of St. John's College of Liberal Arts and Sciences, which was my home as a
Right,
faculty
sure.
person throughout most of my career. And so that was a really important experience for me to grow and learn as a leader. And then I moved, 15 miles away. Couldn't be more different. Two institutions so very different, both Catholic, sharing sort of a common type of mission and vision. Catholic higher ed is unique,
Sure.
but like a world apart. And St. John's is really big and and research oriented in a way that my school at Molloy is smaller and just different, or really
Right.
undergraduate focus. But the lesson that I learned really quickly was that I don't know everything, and I need to surround myself with people who I trust and who value, whose relationships are valuable, and who'll tell me, hey, wait a minute, let's think about this. Let's broaden, the perspective. Let's
Right.
learn from the context of the current environment. And so what I learned was most of my experience didn't necessarily map one-to-one, and that is a challenging lesson to learn as a leader. But I think it's made the world of difference, right?
Right. I oftentimes feel like you have to give the space, and if you allow the space for in a meeting or the bit of uncertainty, if you let it percolate, if you let those different thoughts come in, and the hardest thing sometimes letting your own idea go to listen to something else, and it's a little cliche, but you go from A to B to C.
Yeah.
And that then becomes a community. And for me, that makes such a difference in an education. And I'm from a little town in North Carolina. I did not grow up on Long Island. I had certainly heard of Molloy, but did not know that much about Molloy. But I will say my experience here at the Holocaust Memorial and Tolerance Center, your nursing students come through our program. It is so very moving to see them and connect with our docents and with our survivors. The fact that Molloy has such a vision for those young people. And, I was mentioning this to Dr. Lentini, and that is kind of in an old-fashioned way, some of the nicest people
Yeah.
you will meet. And I will say that of the students, I will say, as you know, a friend of ours, Dr. Black, Barbara, I saw this morning at Nosh Delivers. She volunteers, which is a food delivery system for families in need here on the North Shore, who both of us volunteer. The Capstone program has been involved with that here in Glen Cove and on the North Shore. And I will say at every turn, there really is something special in those students.
Yeah.
There really is. And for me, you know, a very different kind of institution, but that same core values of what is good in society, how you care for one another, whatever the profession is, whatever the profession. It's like every profession is a caring profession. And so the fact that there is that hum in every one of your students that I have met. And in fact, I wrote a letter to the editor saying, this is a remarkable thing that is familiar to me. And it is so good to see, and so good to see in the students of Molloy and in the alumni. And the fact that people like Dr. Black, Barbara, are reaching out and connecting to so many others. And I will say in you and in Dr. Lentini and in the other professors that I've had the opportunity to get to know, there's such an openness to bring more people in and to give everybody an opportunity. I think about, you know, in the sciences, the fact that you're a woman, you know, that has not always been the welcoming place. I mean, it's, I think we have more women who are graduating as doctors these days than men, so that has changed. But it's not always been the case. And certainly in our underserved communities, you know, the ideas that you go into the sciences, not so much. And that's changing. That's changing. And
changing in a big way at Molloy, too. So Molloy's student demographic changes reflect the changes of our regional community, right? So they reflect Long Island's changes. And so what we see are many more Hispanic students. We see when we serve, so we're now classified as a Hispanic serving institution based on the total population of students who identify, you know, as a Hispanic person. We are serving students who are first-generation college students, first-generation American.
I saw a large percentage of you were, same thing at my undergrad. But a large percentage of first-generation college students.
And the beautiful thing about Molloy, and I'm glad that you feel it when you meet our students. I'm like gushing. I'm like, it's a proud parent almost. That's how I feel.
Yes.
The community is one of our pillars, right? So we have we're, you know, Catholic and Dominican institution, and the Dominican nature of our institution has 4 pillars: service, community, spirituality, and oh gosh, now I can't even remember.
You can look it up.
Well, we can look it up. But community and service are integral to who we are. That is important. It is part of the fabric of the community that built us. So we are sponsored by the Dominican Sisters of Amityville. They founded Molloy in 1955. They are present on our campus. They are part of our community. And when students come to our campus, they feel that from everyone, right? So we always joke around about, you know, holding the doors and being that smile, but, you know, that translates, right? So for a student, for any student, but let's say a student who's never been in a higher ed setting before, someone who comes from maybe modest economic means, maybe doesn't have that background the way that I did, you know, having parents who had went to college. Those students, nobody slips through the cracks. Everybody's talking to everybody. Everybody's engaging. You see someone who doesn't look great, you're going over them and you're saying, hey, how's it going? Right. So we are a small town in the middle of this very, you know, metropolitan and fast-paced community.
Yeah.
Also, our mission really as an institution is to develop in our students the lifelong search for the truth, and we want to develop them as ethical leaders. And so we infuse those, that mission and that vision that we get from our Catholic and Dominican heritage and traditions into our curriculum. And that's what my faculty are amazing at. So Every undergraduate student at Molloy goes through the general education program, which is nominally delivered by the School of Arts and Sciences, and those values permeate everything.
Right. And I will say, I love, Dr. Florio, when you look to the future and you notice your changing demographics, you notice how you serve, you know that you have to bring in innovation and all of those things, but you hold on to your traditions.
Right.
And those traditions should never go out of style.
Well, and I think
so important. Yes.
they're more important today. I think we've talked about this, right, than ever before.
Yes.
Being in a values-based environment, right, or ecosystem that says, no, we're looking towards the greater good. We're looking towards, ethical leadership as our North Star, right? Our morality guides us. It doesn't matter necessarily that it's Catholic or something else, right? But just that we stand by those values.
Because they're good values for life.
Yeah.
Good values for life.
And that it's not just about me, it's about us, our community, it's about our global society, right? So so that is something personally that motivates me, to be in an environment that allows me to live out values that I hold true, and that I don't have to say, yeah, okay, I mean, the politics are going one way or the politics of the day go another. No, I think we can keep doing our work because we're doing it for a purpose, for the betterment of society.
And learn to think for yourself because you have that liberal arts background.
There's that.
Yeah. Doctor, it has been so wonderful having you join us. We actually have to wrap this up. It's hard to believe. It oftentimes goes so quickly. I know it's been a job finding a time that you could get out for this podcast. But again, thank you so very much for joining us. What a pleasure. Beautiful to see what's going on at Molloy. And again, thank you. You have been watching Many Voices, One Community. I'm Gaitley Stevenson-Mathews. With me today was Dr. Florio from Molloy University. And it has just been such a treat. Make sure you check into all of our podcasts at hmTV, at hmTC. And again, thank you so much. Until next time, tune in again. Thank you.